It's hour number 2, Foul Territory Live. Let's do this right from the jump with our next guest making his debut on the show. It's Kratzer, it's AJ, it's myself, and Kendall Graveman from the Houston Astros joining us right now. Kendall, great to see you, man. How's life back in Houston?
It's great. Love the show, guys. Thanks for having me on. And I've watched plenty on YouTube. I've had to see what Lance Lynn has to say a lot. I know you'll have him on a lot, so it keeps me interested.
Thank you.
Kendall, I don't recognize you because last time I talked to you, had a big beard and you were a White Sox, and now the GM and president and everyone else is gone, and you're gone in Houston. So I think maybe Lance Lynn put it over the top for you guys.
Yeah, he gave me a hard time for shaving my beard, and I just got tired of it, giving up too many runs. I'm not superstitious, but I said, screw it, I got to go. So we shaved it one day, and everybody in Houston looked at me like, who is this guy?
It's working. It's working in your new place. So is it the beard or is it the new place that you're playing in?
I think physically I'm feeling good, and throwing the ball well here in Houston feels like home. Coming back again, a lot of the same guys. I mean, it's you step into the clubhouse you've been in. The guys that was here in 21 when I got traded, and for me personally, this place is special. Group of guys that they have here, you can see what they've done in the past, the track record, and you have a lot of the same guys. And even when guys that were building pieces like Correa and some of the other guys that leave, they seem to always find a way to put somebody in that position that's just as good and creates a great culture here.
So the White Sox weren't a great culture?
AJ.
I'm just stating the facts that I was hearing from someone else. No, I'm happy for you because we've talked a bunch, obviously, when you were in Chicago, and you and Lance are buddies. The problem I have with you and Lance being buddies is that he went to Ole Miss and you're a Hail Stater, so it's like, how are you guys friends? Because those two just aren't supposed to work.
Yeah, I called him in the offseason before when I was a free agent, thinking about coming into the White Sox. And the first time I talked to him, and I said, hey, this is Kendall Graveman, and I dropped a Hell State on him, and he never let me live that down. So every time I talked to him, he reminded me that the first thing I said to him was Hell State, and there was always a little rivalry there.
I love the way that you answered him, AJ.
It sounded like my mom. He sounded like my mom when I do something. Or my wife. My wife's like, age? Really? That's what it sounded like. And I love this dynamic here because so you're kind of like AJ's I don't want to say AJ's mom, but you said it, AJ. And disciplinarian. You keep AJ in line because we need that. We need that, especially when Scott's at my house. He's normally at AJ's house. But what you didn't know is the guy who's really nervous is Scott Braun. He is so nervous and excited that his favorite player, Kendall Graveman, is on here. So before we show it, do we have
the clip?
Do we have the clip?
No.
We don't have the clip, but essentially Todd Frazier thought that Scott was infatuated with you. So how does that make you feel that you have a stalker?
Let me give more context though before he goes, because I mean he does watch the show, but maybe not every day. So like 2 weeks ago, Kendall, we do our show in Atlantic City every other week, so we have our live show in front of an audience. And at one point, just randomly, Todd Frazier goes, "Dude, you always talk about Kendall Graveman." It's one of the most random statements of the year. Like, Kendall, I respect you. Great pitcher for a while. Your name has come up a few times. Like, actually, I think in that previous week, we brought you up because Sewald's on the show all the time, and he got dealt from a contending Mariners team. So, but somehow, Kratzer, you're looking at him like, I talk about Kendall Graveman as much as any other player. Like, someone went, who does Scott Braun talk on this show about? I don't think you'd be one of the first, 50 guesses. So your thoughts?
You might be the only one. So, whatever made that happen, I appreciate it. And I mean, hey, keep it going and get my name out there a little more.
I think the only other part that comes to mind is I did a few segments with Todd for other places too that interviewed us, and they were like, "Hey, what was your favorite team moves at the trade deadline?" And I was pretty adamant because I think Todd kept saying the Rangers, and I felt like the Rangers did a great job, obviously picking up a ton of great pitchers. But on the Houston side, I'm like, two super quality guys, right? One high leverage bullpen arm, and of course Verlander coming back. So for you to steer it in that direction, how wild is it that you go back to Houston, Verlander goes back to Houston?
Yeah, I told the guys when I got over here, I'll throw whenever. Like, it doesn't matter. I told every team since I've become a reliever, it doesn't matter leverage, non-leverage. I just want to help a team win. I want to pitch in games, and my goal is to always go out and get outs. And then for me to see Verlander get traded over, it did something to our clubhouse. It boosted the morale here. He brings an expectation when he's in the clubhouse that, hey, it raises the level of intensity. It raises the level of focus when he steps foot in the clubhouse. I had never seen it personally, but I'd heard from multiple guys in the clubhouse that that's what it was going to do. And I think it certainly has. And for me to be around him for the first time, I didn't realize how just eat up with baseball he is. That's all he thinks about. He just really, I mean, he plays golf, but other than hobbies, don't drinking wine maybe would be one of his hobbies, and knowing a lot about wine. But other than that, he's always communicating about baseball. He's always trying to make people around him better. And then you have Maldonado behind the plate who does the same thing. And kind of going a little bit off topic, but those guys, when they come in the clubhouses, it creates a bond and a culture, and everybody knows that this is what we're here to do, is to compete and play baseball and win baseball games ultimately for this organization and the fan base.
Seems like what you want to do. Seems like you want to win, right? You're a free agent. Like, you're signed through till next year. Can you give us a little bit of insight on why you signed with the White Sox then?
I don't know how it says. Eric, fuck off.
I have to go, Eric. No, we played against them in the postseason. When I was with Houston, I thought from the outside, what a opportunity. The city of Chicago is amazing. I think it's a place that has a lot of potential, and I don't think you're too far off right now where it sits, honestly. And I think that the fan base is always there. They're loyal. I think Reinsdorf is going to get it right. I think that moving forward, I'm honored and privileged that they actually gave me an opportunity to pitch. I live by these two rules. I'm going to be as prepared as possible, and I'm going to give you 100% effort every time I step foot on the field. I told Pedro that. I told Dusty that when I got over here. And then execution, we can't always execute. You guys know that in this game, you're going to not execute sometimes. I'm going to try to throw a fastball in. I'm going to miss over the plate. But at least I am prepared, and I know that the fastball into that hitter was the right pitch, and I gave you everything I had. I can go to sleep easy at night knowing that. And that's kind of what I live by. And I think that as many guys you can get in the clubhouse to do that, which I think they'll get right with whoever they hire as a GM over there, then that place could be a special place to play.
I love you're just so perfectly politically correct, Kendall. It's amazing. But last night, where were you when Justin Verlander told Alex Cora to fuck off?
I was in the bullpen.
Did you guys hear it? Did you guys hear it on the mic, or did you have any idea until after the game?
I threw the seventh inning right after him, and then I came in the clubhouse. And so Justin doesn't say a whole lot before his start. He's AJ. He's one of those guys, the headphones in, straight ahead. Don't say nothing to me during my start day, but he likes to talk. So after his starts, he likes to get his words in. And we were communicating, talking in the clubhouse when I came in after the game. And the first thing he pulled up was, "Hey, I think the hot mic caught me dropping an F-bomb to Alex." And he showed it to me. We both laughed about it. And it's, you know how it gets in a game. Tempers flare a little bit. And I thought it was perfect what he said.
There you go. Well, here's your shot to listen again in case you haven't seen it. This is great.
Yeah, typical Verlander.
That's the good stuff, Kendall. Do you feel like we need more of that in the game so people can see like that's good, clean, fun, a little like trash talk, like get out of here, dude. I've been in the league for a while. I'm not trying to stall.
Yeah, no offense, and I understand what Alex is trying to do there too. So, just a little chess match there, trying to throw him off and see what he can get done, accomplish for his team. And I mean, That mic's pretty hot though. That concerns me a little bit of how well it picked up the audio, and with PitchCom, I don't know how well you could pick up audio from the mound if he wasn't even screaming, but that was something that was pretty loud.
Do you think that we should have everyone mic'd up all the time? Do you think there's a future like that? Sometimes I got you, AJ, but sometimes there's people on social that'll kick around like, hey, I'd pay a couple $100 if there was a mic'd up only channel, right? And it, added money for the league that I would hope at least some of it would go to the damn players. Well, yes, obviously. We know we have problems there. The Orioles are poor, but obviously.
Okay, the Orioles get extra, then the players get
They need more revenue sharing. But in all seriousness, Kendall, like, do you think there's ever a world where players would maybe not go all out, everyone's mic'd for every single game, but should we amp up miking players, because it does often create gold and most fans love it. And if you give them the option to have like almost like an alternate feed, I think that satisfies everyone if they don't want to hear everything.
I think there's a uniqueness to not having it every day that keeps people eager. But I also think that about 5% of the league you can mic up every day without somebody getting offended potentially. So I don't know. Once you get inside the lines and the adrenaline gets going, things get said that aren't really personal to the other team or the other players. Would it add some kind of comedy and I think some entertainment? Absolutely. There's stuff that's said inside of a clubhouse or on a baseball field in a dugout that I find myself in the off season just kind of reminiscing on and laughing about.
Let me take you back to JV for a sec too. So when he departs the Mets, and obviously that was a crazy situation and ends up back with Houston, there was like the one the unnamed person that was like, oh, he was kind of bitching about how our pitching operation was run. And we on this show, at least most of us, that from what I remember, were like, what's wrong with that? He goes to a team. He's been part of some very successful franchises, including Houston obviously knows how to pitch, and he's trying to give them advice on how he thinks shit should be done. I haven't gotten to read the whole article yet, but the Mets are actually redoing like their pitching operation. So for you, I know that's Justin's thing. I just want to know on the Houston side, because you've bounced around to some ball clubs, what are some things that you can tell us that stand out about what they do, what they have? Because we always get into the analytics conversation. I think it's so much deeper than that because it's information, and Houston clearly has that to the utmost degree, and they're able to communicate that to players like you and JB.
Well, I think it starts from the idea of the spirit of excellence from the top down. Jim Crane, what he's done with this organization and turned it around, and from every small detail that you think is small, that there is an intention to it. That's where it starts, and it trickles down. Everything flows down from the top, and it starts with him. And then now Dana doing a great job as a GM. But the analytical side of it, I think that's what Verlander's alluding to too. Is it also is just the spirit of, hey, we need to be perfect in this department, because you can't technically put a number like you can per se on a player with a WAR. If you agree upon WAR, whether it be F WAR or B WAR, you can at least put a number on what that player brings value-wise outside of the intangibles that we all know are important. But then you look at this department and the analytics of also knowing pitching, and being able to be prepared for a game. That right there can win and lose you 4 or 5 games a year, maybe even more. And that could be the difference in you making the playoffs and or winning a series in the postseason. So teams that do it right, the Astros absolutely were ahead of the curve, and I think that's given them an advantage also, that they've had more years of experience in it, and then now they're just fine-tuning and tinkering certain ways that we can continue to get better as pitchers.
Who are you guys going to need to beat in the playoffs to win the World Series again this year?
Well, we need to beat Seattle and Texas to get in the playoffs, and I mean, you're looking at this division right now; it's tight. I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So for us, and Maldi alluded to it the other day, we got swept by the Mariners. You guys, I'm sure, have talked about it or heard. Maldi said it felt like a slap in the face. And that's what good teams do. You get swept. Somebody steps up and says, hey, this is not our brand of baseball. Let's focus on us. We're too focused on other teams in our division. Let's just focus on what we can do to win a baseball game, and then let the chips fall where they are at the end of the year. But right now, what we need to do is clean up what we got going on and continue to compete and win baseball games. And it sets a standard moving forward. And we've won 2 games since Maldi said that. And I think Maldi was absolutely correct in saying it.
Hey, can you take me inside and we have him on the show anyway, but what Paul Sewald would be feeling when Seattle's a good ball club? I mean, I at least have been saying that all year, AJ. But
Dude, you're so you jumped so far off the ship.
I did not. So Paul leaves. They're playing well. Obviously, it doesn't have to do with Paul. They could use Paul. They need another high leverage reliever in the back end. It's just the uniqueness of how the Mariners run as an operation, right? They love to wheel and deal. They're not afraid to wheel and deal from their big league roster. My one gripe was, I'm like, cool, go for it. You need some bats like Rojas and Canzone. Trade from your minor league system. They just didn't choose to go that way. You have been in the very same position 2 years ago when the team didn't make the playoffs after that point. You guys were in the mix. Guys were pissed. They spoke publicly about it. So can you take us through, what Paul could be feeling right now? He's on a contender, so he's good, but just the shock factor of, the Mariners pulling off deals like that versus most other ball clubs not trading in that style. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a different way of going about it. But, I mean, hey, hats off to the way he's running as a GM over there. And it seems to work. I mean, it broke a 21-year drought and trying to do it again this year. And they needed some bats, and the arms in the back end were great. And they had a piece in Sewald that they felt they can get something. But as far as what he's feeling, Sewald had been there longer than I had. His tenure there had been longer than I had been there. But the relationships that are built when you get traded and then trying to figure out a new team is difficult in the middle of the season. And for me this year, it wasn't as difficult, like I mentioned earlier, because I came to a place I was familiar with. And you can start to see outside of the game and people listening that don't quite understand, when you get traded, you're trying to find a place to live. You're trying to move your family. All of that you have to compartmentalize very well. And Sewald's not throwing the ball the way he wants to right now. I know that. I know who he is as a competitor, but he'll settle down. He'll figure it out, and he'll get back to who he is. And that, to me, the Diamondbacks needed somebody. So it's also great to feel wanted when a team trades for you.
What did guys say to you when that happened to you 2 years ago?
Bro, I've never seen so many people cry in my life. They were so upset, man. And I think it was because the journey I'd gone through with the benign bone tumor in my cervical spine that I just had to battle through, going from a starter to a reliever, and coming off Tommy John surgery. I hadn't pitched in the big leagues over 2 years. And for me, I just tried to care for each guy there and build relationships. And outside of the game, we were going through COVID. We'd gone through, at that time, a president saying some stuff about our team. And I spoke to our team about that and to our organization about that and how it made us feel. And just through small individual conversations, I built strong relationships with the teammates there. And that really hurt. And if you remember correctly, the game before that, we had just hit a grand slam when I was with Seattle against the Astros and was only a few games back. So all the emotions, there was a feeling like there was a shifting of a tide at that moment in that division. And then the next day I show up to go to the throwing program and they say, hey, you got traded, just walk across the hall. You're going to the Astros, which ultimately I played in the World Series for this team, and now I'm back. So I can't be too upset about it.
No, you should have a smile. Like, things worked out pretty well there. I want to bring this one up for the 2 catcher hosts we have on with us right now. So it was the ALCS, and I want you to tell the story. I think once I say a few key words, you'll know. 3-1, changeup for a strike to Shaw, Maldonado calling for it. You know what I'm talking about? And you hadn't thrown the pitch in 2 months or something like that. So just taking us through that story, and I want to get these guys to react to how crazy that was and if the credit should be given to Maldonado for throwing that out of nowhere.
Yeah, I got over here and we started throwing the 4-seam more. I knew 4-seam going in to Shaw at the top of the zone was a great pitch. It was a game or two before I faced him, and I threw a 4-seam at the top of the zone, and he hit a ball to the warning track. It was one of those that for a split second, your heart skips a beat because you think you hit a homer, especially here in Houston and right. It's pretty short out there. Tucker catches it on the warning track. So that's in the back of my mind as I'm pitching. So there's a couple of unconvicted pitches at the top of the zone that got me to 3-1 because I couldn't miss down any, knowing that in the back of my mind it was a homer. So we get to 3-1. I'm shaking. And Maldy hadn't called changeup because I hadn't thrown it in 2 months. He comes out the mound. I remember vividly. Correa comes from short. It's me, Correa, and Maldy standing on the mound. And he said, "What pitch do you want?" And I said, "I want changeup right here." And I was 100% convicted on it, even though I hadn't thrown it. I threw a 3-1 changeup and painted it away. And I saw Shaw look in the dugout like, what in the world was that? Because all the metrics weren't on the board at the time, but the velo was. So he looks in the dugout. I said, all right, I've set him up to beat him at the top of the zone. We throw a 4-seam by him, and we strike him out, throw him out at the end of the inning. And that was a special moment. So for me, I bring it back to total conviction. And then in that moment when I told Maldy, hey, I won't change up, he didn't second guess it. He said, let's go. And we went and executed a pitch, 2 pitches in a row.
So that conviction in a pitch, can that waver if your catcher sits there and is like, hey, bro, whatever you want to do? Because we've talked about it with some teams that have brought some guys in that are just like, you do you.
Yeah, 100%. And you guys know it as a catcher. I don't care if it's the wrong pitch. If the pitcher is 100% convicted in it, you guys can actually add, when you're catching, an extra element of conviction by saying, hey, yeah, that's it, let's go. And in that moment, I mean, the place is going nuts. It's first and third, I believe. Yeah, it's first and third because Verdugo had just hit a ball off the plate that bounced over the first baseman's head. So, I mean, we're in a tight ball game. And to be calm in that moment is also important from a catcher to say, hey, yeah, that's it. And let's go execute.
It's cool.
I like it. Catchers deserve more credit than pitchers.
100%.
Okay, so I want to make sure I get this on my phone. So Lance was texting me.
Oh, boy.
And I said that you said to Hail State, and he said F State. So do you have a response for Lance?
I have no response for Lance. What is it? He's going to get on here and say something next week when he gets on, and he'll be laid back with his hat on, and he'll just be throwing 7 shutout innings. And I mean, so I got nothing for Lance. I texted him the other day and said, hey, you can't go 100 pitches anymore. He went 7 innings, 85 pitches. I said, well, you got over to LA and got a little soft. You can't even go 100 pitches anymore. So he knows where I stand.
All right,
I love it.
What was his comeback?
I said I was going to Canes to get a Caniac combo, and he said, yeah, you better get all 6 of them. So he loves Canes just as much as I do. So we were good after that.
Hey, you can't love Canes. You can't love Canes if you're a Mississippi State guy because
yes, you can.
The Canes guy's an LSU guy, man. He's paying all them kids to go to LSU.
Yeah, but he's got the chicken finger figured out.
You go cane sauce? You go cane sauce or what?
Oh, cane sauce, Caniac combo. Give me a little extra fries. Hold the slaw. We'll be good.
There you go.
All right.
Hey, so
that's an order.
Those northern guys. Hey, Kendall, those northern guys on the big screen, they don't know nothing about Canes.
Stop.
Don't understand it, AJ. They don't.
Stop it. AJ was just on here the other day talking about Buc-ee's. Now he's talking about Canes. He ain't got no. He's such a fence. He rides the fence so much. Wait till you get off of here, then he's going to be all over Brandon Belt when he's on the show. Like, whatever.
Chicago deep dish, whatever.
No, not a deep dish guy.
Okay.
Thin crust.
Yep. What's your? So you've seen Lance on here. Either what's something that made you laugh about him coming on here, or do you think it's cool for someone like Lance to finally have a place where he can be Lance? And I mean, just because you know him, he was very excited when he heard about this show. And we've had others like Rowdy Tellez has. I mean, he's a different character, but same kind of deal. There are guys in the league that are like the most entertaining, open books, but it's like all like, it's all good, clean fun. So your thoughts on having a spot like that where, we felt like obviously it wasn't there in the past.
I got a bone to pick with Rowdy. I drafted in the 8th round for $5,000, and then they drafted him late and gave me all my signing bonus money. So dang it. He got like 800 in like the 20th round because they saved money on me. So you're welcome, Rowdy.
That was with the Jays, right?
Yeah.
God, I will never forget that. $5,000 and Uncle Sam got, half of it. So that to me still sticks with me. But I think I told Lance, I mean, the moments that I'm excited for him going over there, but I said, hey, in LA, there's a few more cameras that are on your face. So keep saying the words you're saying. Just be careful. And he was laughing about it. So he dropped quite a few the other night when he was pitching.
Kendall, I have to ask you before I let you go, because I'm an adopted Mississippi State fan now because my daughter's going to go play volleyball there. Will Mississippi State score a touchdown against Alabama this year?
They'll score one.
Okay, because they went like
in the fourth quarter
they scored the last play of the game last year. Remember, and they had broke like a 5-game streak of losing and getting shut out. And they scored like the last play of the game this year. Do you think that momentum carries over and they get one this year?
Yeah, momentum carries over. I think you get one late again in the fourth.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not paying close attention like you guys are, but I think I got all I need to know right there.
Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see on this show that you haven't seen on the show yet, Kendall? Who would be a guy that you played with?
Joe Kelly.
Has Joe not been on?
No.
Oh, that's a guaranteed. You got to have Joe.
Yeah,
that's
a good
what are we
one.
waiting on? How'd I beat Joe? That's ridiculous.
We've had a lot of dudes on. We have not gotten Joe. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll talk about his book too. So let him on.
We'll let him plug all of his businesses,
everything,
his merch, his
Thanks,
book,
guys.
His whole deal. Hey, Kendall, great to have you on, dude. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Cheers. Awesome.